And when you talk about lumping everyone together, you sort of lump the military-industrial complex and city council together too, right?
No.
Have you ever said that before, people?
I would put them on the same level of structure, but I would not put the city council with the military-industrial complex.
Well, because they're like different agencies and entities, right?
Do you know what compartmentalization is?
Mr. Bryant, trying to answer my questions. If you disagree,
I just want to clarify.
I really don't, Mr. Bryant, but let's keep focused on these questions, all right?
It is an answer to the question.
So tell me how compartmentalization changes how you look at the military-industrial complex in the city of Missoula.
So the military-industrial complex is a large overarching entity that has placed us in the position of warfare and economic distress. And I have seen the results in the world, all over the world everywhere I've traveled. And that's the big, the macro. The micro is the city council. They are unaware of my macro, it seems, but they're still causing the city economic distress. Right? Do you see that in the
So I maybe understand part of that, but it sounds like maybe the outcomes can be the same and that they perpetuate disparities over people. Do you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay. When you were in the military, you said you were JSOC trained. And does that stand for Joint Special Operations Command?
Correct.
And did you receive training in intelligence?
Yes.
And was part of the training that you received knowing how to use your words and conduct to actually avoid these environments?
No.
Okay. What was your training?
My specific training was imagery analyst in drone operations. You can call it intelligence communication technology.
Okay, intelligence communication technology. That's not good.
That's the specific training.
Thank you. And you have an interest in psychological warfare, right?
I wouldn't say an interest, more like I had to learn it because it was used on me.
I mean, do you agree that words can be used, say, in a military setting or another setting to convey a message to avoid further action?
Yeah, I think that the whole point of being a warrior is to understand the psychological, physical, mental, and emotional costs and do everything that you can to prevent warfare from actually breaking out.
I mean, would you say that one of the points of the U.S. military, and maybe any military, is a protection of strength so other people don't sort of rise up against it?
Yes, I'm posturing.
Let's come back to that in a second, but I want to get into some of the language that you were using around the city council. You speak in parables often, right?
Sure.
And a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories are religious based.
Yeah.
And you said you're pretty much read all major religion scriptures, is that true?
That's true.
And I think you just mentioned your grandfather was a pastor.
Correct.
He was a very influential person.
Correct.
And at that November 18, 2019 meeting, where you ended up yelling, you were telling the Bible parable that your grandfather told, right?
I'm not sure if my grandfather told it specifically, but it is a parable by the prophet Nathan to King David in the Old Testament.
It is. It's book of Samuel, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Chapter 2, verse 12.
Yes, sir.
But you didn't tell them the whole story, did you?
Do you want me to explain David's position?
Well, I want to ask you. So the prophet Nathan is speaking to King David, right?
Yes, sir.
And he tells him that story that you told about a rich man having 99 sheep and 4 men having one.
Mm-hmm.
The rich man stole the 4-man sheep and fed it to a guest. Then King David said something in reaction to that story, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
So that person should be executed.
Yes, sir. And what did Nathan say?
And Nathan said, "You are that man, didn't you?" And that was his story.
And what did David say?
David asked for forgiveness.
Correct.
And then his son was killed instead, right?
By God.
So the story that you were telling the city council had some other details that you left out.
But that's not the point of the parable.
The point of the parable is greed and outcomes that should result from that greed, right?
Correct.
And in your mind, the city council was greed.
Correct.
A couple weeks after that city council meeting, when you yelled at me, you put a post on Facebook. May I approach that?
You may approach.
Do you recognize this post?
Let me read it. Actually, the picture that you have up there is not from December 2nd, 2019. It's probably from a long time. Wait for
Okay, so you're saying that that picture that's up there wouldn't have been on your Facebook account on December 2nd?
Not this one, not the current one that I have.
Okay, so this would have been from earlier, or do you need to replace this app?
Can I read this first? Right?
Do you recall writing this?
I do not recall writing it because it was probably in a position of emotional distress, but it's most likely happened in 2006.
So you believe this is a 2016 post?
I do not believe that it was a post within the time frame of me doing this.
Okay. I want to move on to your YouTube channel right now. So that's a private channel, is that right?
Yes, sir.
So you need to be invited to it to be able to see it.
Most things, yes.
Okay, and watch the videos on it.
Yes.
And so you need to be like sent a link or something like that to be able to preserve your channel.
Yes.
May I approach, Ryan?
You may approach.
Mr. Bryant, is this a screenshot of your YouTube channel?
Correct.
And you use the name Macabar, is that right?
Correct.
You're on permission to publish a demonstrative copy of the live YouTube page here.
Any objection?
No objection.
With no objection, you may publish the demonstrative exhibit.
So, Mr. Bryant, is this your YouTube channel?
Yes, it is.
So it just pops up on a link.
Yep.
And these are some of the videos you posted.
These are the public ones.
Okay. And you've had more videos on this channel in the past, right?
Correct.
And you took a bunch down after you contacted me, Ethan Smith, right?
He specifically told me to take down the video in question.
So after he saw it, he asked you to take that one down and you made it private on your YouTube channel, right?
Did not see it on my page. He saw it on another page, Val's page.
Okay. So I see here now you have 64 subscribers, and you're saying at that time you had 0.
I had 3. I actually accidentally commented on someone's YouTube page and reactivated my page last week, and these 61 are pretty new. They're brand new.
Okay. But for instance, I can click on one of these videos.
Yes.
And so other people, either your own subscribers or somebody else receiving the link of these were watching your videos.
Correct.
And one of the people that always watched your videos was this guy named Rick Rangers, right?
Correct.
And you guys knew each other through some sort of military circle.
No.
You knew each other through a veteran circle.
No.
You knew each other through the drone program or speaking engagements.
No.
How'd you know? Right?
He contacted me over Facebook, roughly 2014, and offered his support. And I disagreed with him on a Facebook post concerning free will. And after that, he started stalking and attacking me, and I tried to ignore him. But I never met him, really never interacted with him. The only time that I got really worried about him was when he posted a video called Death, God, and Children, accusing me of being a pedophile death cult leader who used the souls of the people I killed to give myself supernatural powers. And then he posted that to Veteran Forums, and veterans were attacking me and threatening to kill me.
So we'll come back to that in a second. But your entire interactions with him were online, right?
Yes.
And that's how some people communicate these days, right?
I offered to meet him in person, and I can't tell you what he was thinking, but he's a troll.
And one of the things he does is he takes your videos that are reposted.
Sometimes, not all the time.
But he's taken a lot of them, hasn't he?
Yeah, he mostly just complains on his website about me.
And he's got a website where he talks about you a lot.
Yeah, he's a stalker.
He posts all these videos.
Yeah, he stalks me.
Is that disconcerting to you?
Yeah, he's made my mother and family afraid. He made my son's mother afraid. He's made me afraid with his actions. And he's threatened people who have shown support for me.
What did he threaten to do?
He's stalked them. He doesn't outright say anything, but he insinuates a lot by simply posting it in places where people would gather attack me. One in particular is called the Valor blog, called This Ain't Hell. And he claims to have known me and has information about me and wrote a guest blog. And it is those veterans that specifically threaten to kill me and attack me.
This guy has been inciting violence against me. He's actually tried to get veterans to come and kill me and my family.
Who is this guy that's
name's
doing
Rick.
this?
His name's Rick Reinierson, and he's got this blog called Pick Your Battles. Has been really trying. There's a blog called This Ain't Hell, which is a blog about angry veterans who just hate people. They reported on me as being, they're like, our contacts inside the drone program say that Brandon Bryant's a liar and filthy piece of shit and all this type of stuff. And some of my grandpa's former wrestlers are Rangers. And one of them came to me and was like, you better shut up and stop telling lies. And I was like, I'm not telling a lie. And he's like, swear on your grandpa's life. And I was like, I swear on my grandpa's life, I'm not telling a lie. And this guy went back to this group of people and they murdered him for standing up for me.
How did They murdered a ranger?
Yeah. So this group of angry veterans who were threatening me and threatening to kill me if I didn't shut up. This guy who was one of my grandpa's former wrestlers came to me and was like, "If you don't shut up, we're gonna hurt you. We're gonna come after you."
What happened to these people that murdered him? Are they in jail? Are they in prison now? What?
No. He died in a fire, house fire.
And there was no sort of investigation to homicide?
Nope. Native American kid. So they didn't do any investigation.
And where was this?
Here in Montana. The kid's name was J.C. Whitacombe. And he
Whitacombe?
Yep, Whitacombe. And he was murdered. Like, I also had a friend who was part of LulzSec. In a similar story.
Well, how do you know for sure he was murdered, though? How do you know these people actually? You're saying they burned his house down
with him in it. How
do you know that, though?
Because these guys were inciting violence against me on their website and blog, and this guy was JC told me all the things that they were going to do to me. They were going to kill me. They were going to torture me and murder me. They were going to kill my family as well. And he stood up for me, and less than a week after that, he was killed. Like, these are the types of people discredit disgruntled veterans, but when veterans feel like they've been wronged or when they have a target, like they think I'm a traitor. People call me a traitor or a monster. I have no friends. And so this guy was sticking up for me, and they killed him. And then after that happened, there was no more talk about me on their blog until Rick Reinierson wrote a guest piece for them and started inciting violence against me again.
I'm really sorry, Mr. Bryant. What you just told me is that in a completely online relationship using innuendo and vague language, he's making you feel fear and family feel threatened. Is that correct?
Yes. But he specifically stopped me, and I blocked him and ignored him, and he still continues to do it.
But you've never met him in person?
No.
And it's hard when somebody online is talking about you, isn't it?
No, really, I thought it was pretty funny at first, because I never met him. Like, I didn't know him from Adam. And then, because I was ignoring him, he got super serious and started posting all this inflammatory stuff, specifically about me, targeting me with intent.
And so for you to see that, you need to go to his webpage or look at his videos and see what he's saying.
Not necessarily. I have been notified on specific forums, and people contact me with his posts and have threatened me because of his posts. So it wasn't directly him that I can ignore his page all day. I mean, it's kind of funny if you look at how obsessed he is. I think he's in love with me.
But it causes other people to see the posts and maybe they contact you.
Correct.
Because once something's on the internet, it's out there, isn't it?
Yeah. No.
And you know if you reshare it,
yeah,
repost it. And the consequences sometimes can be even unintended. It can be something different than one person expected, right?
Absolutely.
But you know that that's a possibility online.
Of course. I mean, I didn't expect this to get this far. I didn't expect his jealousy and ignorance to push it.
So, Mr. Bryant, you told us in your testimony that you're a non-violent person.
Non-aggressive.
What's the difference?
The difference is if I was attacked, I would defend myself.
Okay. You said you kill other people before, right?
If they attack me, yeah. I mean, I've been threatened with my life. I've had to make that posturing stance. Remember, we talked about posturing earlier. I've had to make that stance because if I did not, those people whom I know as veterans would see that as weakness, not actually.
Now, what exactly did these veterans say to you? What did they threaten you?
They told me to stop lying, and that if I exposed any more of the program, then they would come after me and my family.
I mean, they didn't say they'll come after you now, right?
In the terms that veterans use, when veterans are talking to one another, we have a certain level of understanding about that.
Well, but Brandon, they could have protested outside your house, right?
Context for this is that veterans don't do that.
Well, you're a veteran, Mr. Bryant.
Correct.
Are you different than them?
Not necessarily, but it depends on who I'm talking to and how I'm saying it.
Or if you're mad at them?
Expressing anger, I'm okay with people expressing anger. I accept people's anger. I've talked to plenty of people about this. I've talked to probably hundreds of thousands of people if I were to be really honest about it. And I accept other people's opinions. But when people come to me specifically and say that they're going to end my life or hope that, I can specifically remember one person who said that they hope that I get tried under the UCMJ and executed for treason.
So in the military, you said there's some language that maybe veterans and military members get used to, right?
Correct.
And as a drone operator, if your commanding officer told you to eliminate the target, what does that mean?
Depends on what they mean by me eliminated. Is it, do I guide people that target, or do I button myself?
So you could act in like a supporting role for that target to be eliminated, is that right?
Yes.
But the outcome is the same. It would be gone.
Not necessarily, because under the third SOS, they try to capture the target, and elimination means removed from the picture, not necessarily kill.
Okay, what about exterminate?
Yeah, I mean, it could be the same thing, you know, exterminate people, make sure that they're not able to use bombs and throw weapons out into the populace. Of course, in the military context.
Hold it, Mr. Bryant. I think we are running out of battery power for your microphone.
In the military context, that word typically means to kill, specifically in that situation.
And veterans know the language they use, right?
Correct, but most veterans know that civilians are different from other veterans.
So do veterans sometimes change the way they might talk to civilians?
No,
Are civilians supposed to take those same words differently than another military official or enlisted member?
probably. Most veterans really talk harshly to civilians because they think civilians are ignorant and they need a slap in the face to wake up.
So one of the reasons that you were worried about these veterans, you knew they were veterans and you knew what they were capable of. Is that correct?
I knew what they were capable of towards me.
And when they said they were going to come after you, you had an interpretation of that.
Yes, I even went to the police about it, and the police told me that they don't help people like me.
And one of those comments, I already forget, those were online somehow.
They were online, yeah.
When you post things on YouTube, you know that Rick Ryerson, or Ryerson, is that how you say it?
Honestly, I don't know, but it's Ryan Houston, I think.
Ryan Earson, Rick Ryan Earson, he will take your things and he will repost.
Yeah, he will cut them apart and re-put them together and say that he knows certain things and make insinuations and stuff. He's like a court jester.
And approach on?
You may approach.
Mr. Bryan, is this one of the videos that he's taken and put together about you?
I have not seen it, but most likely.
Do you agree that the silhouettes that I'm showing you as I fast forward are your face?
Yeah, probably. He probably took a bunch of context from other things and mashed them together to make it seem like I'm someone I'm not.
Okay.
He does that a lot.
And have you ever made videos before where you threaten to kill people?
Not physically.
Your Honor, I move for the admission of, I think, what might be State's Exhibit number 7, and request permission to publish the jury.
I think it states exhibit number 6. Let's double check that.
So,
Any objection?
yeah, I don't know, first off, what it is. And it sounded like it was being used for impeachment purposes, but I would like to see what we're discussing.
Absolutely, Your Honor, I think we may need to change.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, we will take a break and send jury back down to the jury room.
They are a variety of clips where Mr. Bryant threatens to kill a variety of people, including in very graphic terms, which is directly contradictory to the testimony that he just gave. It is relatively immaterial, Your Honor, whether he has further context around these statements, because the only thing it's being used for right here is rebutting his evidence of being peaceful and non-violent. And so the video clips are several minutes of him threatening to kill other people in very graphic terms.
So, Mr. Jennings, I want you to at least display a little bit of the video that you intend to play. If you wouldn't mind turning the monitor to face the bench so that I can see it.
If you send someone to me, if anyone comes to me and if a police officer comes to me and tries to arrest me or harass me from this, I'm just gonna fucking take his life and make him an example. I don't care. Family. And if you come at me again, I will fucking end it. This is blood price. This is what our ancestors called a blood feud. I have a blood feud with Norway. I have a blood feud with my own country. I have a blood feud with the drone community and the whistleblower community. And if any of those people come at me again, I'm not even gonna argue. I've said my stuff. I've made my statement. Now it's time for blood. And that's where we've ended up. You know, you destroy someone's life, you take from them and take from them and take from them. It comes to it. People come at me and start and attack me. I'm not gonna even pretend to be anything other than a whirlwind. I'm a dervish. And I will kill people, you know, the United States. And I can tell who's innocent and who's not, who is a scumbag and who isn't. And it's not going to affect me. I'm safe. I'm protected. If I die, I get to go to enjoy the fruits of heaven. And if I succeed, then I get to enjoy the fruits of victory on this earth. And whoever's with me gets to join me. And whoever's against me, I'm just going to destroy you so utterly that people are going to whisper your name in fear in relation to me. I promise. People attack me, I'm going to break your fucking limbs, and then I'm going to stab you in the gut, and I'm going to cut off your genitals, and I'm going to watch you fucking bleed the fuck out. And I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not even going to fucking care. You're just going to see me staring you in the eye as you slowly bleed out. But now, if it happens again, I'm going to watch. And I'm going to stare you in the fucking eye as I do it. And they all deserve to fucking die. All of them. All of them. Just look at what they've done. They've destroyed millions of people's lives. And they'd be like, well, it's illegal, you know, I'm protected, you know. No, fuck. The law is fucking shit. Because if I responded in the same way, I would fucking have killed many of these people that have harmed me. And I would be justified in it. According to all the old laws and all the ancient laws, I would be fucking justified in going on a bloody fucking killing spree. And laws aren't going to protect you from the consequences of your actions. But I can say, you're fucking shit. Get your shit together. And if you don't, you know, I wouldn't hesitate or bat an eye or anything to just put a knife in your gut and let you bleed out. Get your fucking shit together. You know, these people that are in charge, they fucking destroy people's lives, and then they get upset when they have to pay a fucking fine. They're destroying lives. You know, every single one of these rich motherfuckers that are in charge of our government, they are destroying people's lives across the board for their own profit and benefit. And, you know, they deserve to be hung. They deserve to be hung. And those people in power who have controlled it, they should be murdered. And the thing that you have done to me, this is why this will be not a thing of vengeance. Whatever I do will be a thing of justice, be a thing of duty. I will set the example. I'm talk about this guy named Rick Rainierson is that he should have been my ally in this fight, and he just should probably kill himself because he's such a terrible person. I definitely know that if I ever saw him and I had a knife in my hand, I would stick him in the gut and watch him bleed out and prevent anyone from helping. I told him he can go fucking kill himself, and I still stand by that statement. I think that he's fucking disgusting, and I don't believe that he will get a chance to continue his life unless he has a drastic change of heart. So, and the people that are in charge over in Washington, they're the fault of the downfall of this country. The rich people who make living so difficult are the reason why the world is in the state that it's in. What am I supposed to do about that? The only thing that I'm really, really good at is hunting people down, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. And to my enemies, I will kill you, if not in this life, then the next. I know that this life isn't my first life, but I do know that it's my last life here. The other day, I was at this place called Flying Squirrel in here, and in Missoula, and it's this trampoline place. And then I looked at the guy who had brought her, and he was laying on the couch, and he was this fucking fat piece of shit with a trucker's cap and a grotesque beard and dirty sweats and dirty black pants. The only other choice I had was I knew that if I was going to confront this guy, I would have fucking grabbed my knife out of my pocket and stuck it right in his throat. I wouldn't have asked a question.
So, context doesn't matter. All we're talking about here is propensity for nonviolence or peacefulness. So, Mr. Bryant wants to explain why these people deserve death. He can do so, I suppose, on redirect.
And I'd also like to point out what's happening here. He's showing an edited video that takes Brandon's speech out of context from Pick Your Battles. This is art imitating life. Mr. Ryan is now running his trial.
Mr. Jennings, I'm not going to allow you to play the video at this time.
As I noted, context doesn't really matter. It certainly is prejudicial for Mr. Bryant, but starting with the opening statement, his defense has largely been, I said it, but I won't do anything bad. And words matter. Threats matter. When he says he's killed people, or he's going to kill people again, and he killed people in the past, that is information and evidence that people could have used to perceive whether he was a threat or not. It also goes to his mental state. He basically just suggested that he uses nuanced language about eliminating, exterminating, submit, and die. And this just goes to show that that language that he uses about death and harming other people is a consistent theme throughout everything he ever says. It's certainly prejudicial, but it's very probative as to character treatment for peace or nonviolence.
So my prior ruling stands. The state has the ability to certainly ask Mr. Bryant about prior threats and certainly may probe the issue of oath of nonviolence and nonviolent nature, and the court will reconsider admission of state's proposed Exhibit 6, the video amalgamation, I guess, of various threats made by Mr. Bryant, or aggregation of threats made by Mr. Bryant as potential impeachment evidence. Again, it's my habit just to remind you you're still under oath. Mr. Jennings, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bryant, you've threatened to kill people before, right?
Only in defense.
And in defense can mean like when you're scared or something, right?
When directly threatened.
So if you're threatened or fearful, you would then use violence, is that right?
Only directly. Only if someone came up to me and told me that they were going to kill me would I use it in defense of myself.
So, Rick Van Anderson, for instance, you've never met him personally.
No.
You said before that if you see him on the sidewalk, you would put a knife in his stomach, didn't you?
He's made my family afraid and me afraid, and he's instigated attacks against me, and I would feel that in my own defense, I would be able to defend myself against him.
You also said that if cops, if law enforcement officers come after you, you wouldn't hesitate to kill them, right?
If I had to defend myself against them, then yes.
You said the same with other government officials, right? That they deserve to be executed?
Supposed to be taking care of the environment around you. Instead, we've got these blood-sucking fucking parasites. We got one in my own fucking valley that I'm going to be dealing with here shortly. And it seems that we have my entire city council is just a bunch of fucking parasites, especially our mayor. And I'm going to say there are right reasons to kill people. There are completely right reasons to kill people, just like there are right reasons to fight. And it's the people that do the wrong things and harm others that create these fake laws so that they can protect themselves while they continue destroying people's lives. And these people that are in charge of the government and everything, the corporations, they deserve to be publicly executed. And it's probably going to, unless they can turn themselves around and start giving and be beneficial, then it will be time for people to rise up and actually take them to the streets. And now we have video cameras and everything to watch this. These people should be lined up in front of the White House and with a sword, not a bullet, just one by one, have their throats slit. Because these people have made their life's blood off of the suffering of others. And according to every sacred scripture that I've ever read, and I've read all of them almost, then these are the types of people that are 100% okay to fucking slice off the tree of life and throw into the fires of disillusion, because it's like pruning a plant. And these people that are in these high places, they perpetuate suffering. They live off of it. They make the human species suffer so that they can get power. And those are the people that should be removed. I don't see anything wrong with that. And people say that I'm crazy for thinking like that. Okay. I'm crazy for thinking that justice should be met. And people deserve to fucking die for their destruction of the planet. The people that are in charge of these companies and these governments that just destroy other people's lives for profit and money, they deserve to fucking be taken in the middle of the street and publicly executed in front of everybody. I would line up all these politicians, and if someone gave me a gun that had infinite bullets, 9mm, and if they were standing in front of me,
the ones that have broken international law and the ones that have violated their people, I believe that we should eat the rich and leave those that have violated humanity. I do believe that. I mean, I'm not going to deny it.
And you believe that the city council has taken actions against other people that are worse than death, right?
I said that they could, if they do not use the tool that they told me that they have, that it would cause poverty. What I meant by that, by things worse than death, which is aggravated suffering.
So if they use the tip tool wrong, it could either cause death or something worse.
Right. Also, revolution happens because of stuff like that. You know.
And so if the city council did such a thing, then they would have betrayed that trust, right?
Not to me personally, but I would set that as an example. Yeah, I would use that as an example.
Then they should be executed, right?
No, they always have the opportunity to. There is a fine line, right? Once it goes too far and they can't go back. Water's poison, no one can get food, no one has housing, then the people have a right to rise up. That's why the Second Amendment exists, does it not? To rise against tyranny, and if tyranny exists in the government, doesn't that give everyone an opportunity to do something against it?
So you were watching the city council to make sure they didn't cross that line, right?
Absolutely.
But if they did, they would deserve death.
I mean, if they killed a bunch of people and let a bunch of people die so that they can line their pockets for money, I would not argue against that.
And that's one of the things that in your mind, a TIC tool could do if used in time.
Not in itself, but it would help.
Those are some of the things that were on your mind when you were testifying for the city council, right?
I was afraid that they would cross the line of no return and destroy everyone's lives. Of course, I see it all over the place. We see it today.
So they were deliberating those very issues that you're concerned about, right?
No, they weren't deliberating anything. They weren't listening.
Well, they were talking about, say, the Riverfront Triangle project.
Yeah,
And that was an issue really important.
absolutely.
Could have caused gentrification, could have displaced poor people in our community.
Absolutely.
And if that was successful, that would have been the type of action that would destroy lives.
Most likely.
If the city council was destroying lives, they meant they should be destroyed too, right?
Well, that's what the Second Amendment's for. Constitution says that you're supposed to rise up against tyranny. You know, our founding fathers are all about not letting people dictate how we're supposed to live. We're supposed to live in freedom, pursuit of happiness, those types of things. It's one reason that I absolutely hate Trump and all of his policies. It's one reason that I disagree with most political parties is because, you know, I see them as tyrannical. I do. I'm not going to deny that. And if me pointing that out is a cause for concern, then people are ignoring the greater distress of the people. You're an employee of the government. That means that I'm your boss, essentially. I'm here because I trust you to do the right thing, Mr. Prosecutor. I trust you to be hard and be aggressive towards me because you deserve to be.
Mr. Bryant, should I be afraid?
No. Unless you're going around and purposely destroying people's lives. But I believe that you're a rational and reasonable human being that would prevent yourself from getting that far, right?
Are all the city council members rational and reasonable human beings that are going to prevent the city council from getting that far?
I would hope so. That's the whole point of democratic discussion.
But if they don't, you might have to take matters into your own hands.
So objection, Your Honor, you're calling for speculation.
I would never
Objection overruled. You can answer.
I would never take matters into my own hands. But I would point out to people that maybe the people should take matters into their hands.
So some of what you say it's not something that you're going to do personally, it's a call to arms for others. Is that right?
Not necessarily. It's called to stand up for themselves, in a sense.
In any way that achieves the objective.
No. I explained earlier the whole point of the role of the warrior culture is to understand what violence does to a person at every level of being, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, and to do everything that they can to prevent it from happening. What we have seen in this last year is the complete destruction of our own populace due to non-preparation of plague, pandemic, people are starving. I read an article last night that says that the Department of Agriculture says that Missoula Montana is experiencing a severe drought in 15 counties and they expect it to get worse. We need to, if I have to be assertive and raise my voice to get people to pay attention to what's happening, then I will. Like I said before, I have killed under military oath, and it destroyed me. It absolutely destroyed me. But because I understand that, I know how to prevent it. But I wouldn't want anyone else to experience it. So what line are you asking, Mr. Jennings? It's my question to you. What are you getting? Is it not my right to stand up for myself and the people that I believe that are suffering? Is it not my duty to make sure that people are defended?
Mr. Bryant, I'm sorry about what you had to go through in the military. I truly am.
That's okay. I mean, but that's not under trial,
Hey,
right?
Mr. Bryant, do you understand how constantly talking about killing and then talking about exterminating people can be extremely disconcerting?
Do you not understand that there are hundreds of thousands of people dying right now because of decisions in the government that are being made, and the wealthy are getting wealthy, and that sometimes people need to be aware of that in the most extreme form, especially words, because you can say whatever it is that you want. Our first constitutional amendment is freedom of speech, and once that line is crossed, once speech goes to physical violence, that's the line. Speech, anyone can be, you can yell at me, anyone can yell at me. I don't take that as a threat.
So there's no line that you could ever cross with your words alone.
No, that is correct.
So those Marines that threatened to harm you instead of coming after you, did they cross the line?
No, if that's how you don't understand, I understand how they feel. They feel like I violated their sanctity and their belief in the military by exposing what the military has done to innocent people around the world.
Mr. Bryant, Rick Ryanier's been harassing you online, and you said you're gonna put a knife in his gut.
That's because he put my family in danger with what he was saying. I tried to be nice to this guy. I tried to be kind and friendly. He claims to be a whistleblower. I invited him to be a whistleblower in part of my group. And promote his military integrity, and then he turned on me and started making these videos because he's obsessed over me. I have no understanding of this guy. He makes me afraid that if he came to me and was standing right in front of me, I'm not sure what he would do, because I feel that he is aggressive towards me in many ways, and I would defend myself because of that fear.
But I have to kill him.
If he got within arm's reach of me, then I might have to.
And if something makes you afraid, that would be an attack on you, and you could defend yourself, right?
Anyone can. That's the whole point of the Constitution.
And you told the city council that you were afraid.
I was afraid for myself, and that is why I was there to make sure that they didn't push the line of me being afraid. I mean, are we going to go back and forth on this, Mr. Jennings? Because
I think we've got enough, Mr. Bryant. I want to wrap up talking about your interview with Detective Smith. Do you remember that interview?
not necessarily, but I get understand the gist of it.
Okay. Do you remember telling him that when you post things on YouTube, you count on Rick Ryanier's to repost them?
I don't count on him to repost them, I count on him to see them. And
Well, they repost, like, that's what you do, right?
that's his prerogative. I mean, I can't control what another person does.
Ms. Bryant, in case you need it, I'm gonna hand you a copy of your transcript, okay?
What would you like me to read?
So, if you go to top of page 3, Ethan Smith had been asking you about how Rick Ranier got the YouTube videos, right?
Correct.
And on the top of page 3, he said, so my videos, see, that's the problem, is that people take my stuff. I've been trying to count on him to do this.
I count on him to take things out of context. I don't count on him to take my videos and repost them.
Okay. And right below that, he said, actually, this is great, because you're trying to bring the whole TIF thing to the international level. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
At the bottom of that page, he said, I'm trying to be the boogeyman.
Yes.
About the video, right?
No.
About everything.
To him. Because he's making, with his video, God, Death, and Children, he claims that I'm a pedophile death cult leader who used the souls of the people that I killed to give myself supernatural powers. So to him, I definitely want to be a boogeyman.
He said he wanted the city council to feel the same fear that you and others are feeling, right?
Yes.
And specifically, you were talking about the Riverfront Triangle Project.
No.
Can you look at page 5, please? Detective Smith asked you specifically what some of your problems were, right? And the Riverfront Triangle was one of them.
Yes.
Well, you say, or even Dakota for his new whatever on the triangle. The entertainment.
I was using that as an example too.
Okay. Those are the things that you were watching to see what the city council did, right?
Right.
See what they did in the community,
Correct.
and what further action you might need to take.
No, because I already told the city council in January that I was done going to meetings and that I was no longer interested in anything that they were doing because they were not listening to us.
On page 6, if you want to refresh your memory, you and Detective Smith started talking about the specific language that you're using, right?
Correct.
And you said, I'm JSON trained, so I know how to push those buttons.
Correct.
That's why you use that strong language.
Not necessarily why, but I know how to because of it.
And you said, and manipulate, because in warfare, what you try to do is non-violent, right?
Yes.
So sometimes the words can be just as effective as violence.
No, violence will always break down into degradation of the human condition. Words can be strong, and the reason why they're strong, but once you get past words, there's no going back.
You told us your feelings about the military-industrial complex, those that ruin lives, right? And some of them deserve to die.
I mean, all the corrupt people, they deserve what they've done to others. I mean, that's what I believe.
And so when Ethan Smith asked you about relating those two, you said, I look at the city council and officials as the same people who basically took me from my home, lied to me, manipulated me, and put me in the situation to kill people. So they were one and the same people, right?
They're still part of the government. I mean, they still lie to people and do things, but they're not the same exactly.
If you want to look on page 12, Detective Smith was asking you about how Rick Reinierson got those YouTube videos. Do you remember that? You said, I post my videos live and I'm just out there. And mostly they were like bait for people. Right? Those are your words.
Correct.
You talked about your interest in psychological warfare.
Correct.
And then you started talking about why you made this video. Do you remember that? You wanted to jump ahead to page 26.
I didn't know what video was being discussed.
Well, Mr. Bryant, I'm sorry, but that's just not true. Can we go back, please, to page 9? Ethan Smith directly asked you about the video you made in December, right? And he said, the one where you're talking about exterminating? You go, yes. Are you seeing what I'm looking at, page 9?
I said, yes, but I didn't say.
He said, I never said city council, I never named anyone, that's what you said, right? He said, I will exterminate those that are doing justice and wrong.
If we're talking about a video, the video in question, I did say city council, even if I didn't name anyone, but in this transcript, I wasn't sure about that video. And if we're talking about this, I never said city council.
Okay, that's fine, but we're just making sure you're talking about the same video with Detective Smith. And you agree that you were talking about this video, right?
You're talking about the video.
Sure, the one where you said submit and die, like you said on page 9, right? You said, I did say submit and die. I did say it. It's in parentheses here, but you know.
What's in on?
It means that
No,
the
I know what it means, but which word is in on?
submit, I did say submit and die. Do you recall saying that?
I do not recall saying it, but if it's in the transcript, it must have.
I just want to make sure that you guys are talking about this video, because there's no other reason that Detective Smith was interviewing you that day, right?
Probably not, I don't remember.
Okay, let's jump ahead now to page 26. Detective Smith came back in the YouTube video after you guys had talked about some other things, didn't he?
Good. Yeah.
So talking about those words like exterminating and stuff.
Yeah.
And you said it's metaphysical or metaphor, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that it's not a real thing. The language is there to get a response, to incite a response.
Correct.
So you want the reaction from the use of that language.
Correct.
You said it was done on purpose.
The use of the words were done.
That follows where you say the language is there to get a response, to incite a response, and it was done on purpose. That's what you said, Mr. Bryant.
Yes, I'm reading. I know the language that I use in my videos, sir.
Nothing further. Ladies and gentlemen, the First Amendment is there for a reason. It's one of the most important and founding principles of this country. The citizens can engage in a government and have diverse viewpoints, no matter what they are. But the First Amendment is not unlimited. You can't yell fire in a crowd of fear. You can't threaten to kill city council members. Threats such as these can either cause a stampede in the theater and strike fear in the hearts of those that are hearing the threat. It can cause terror. And when it's applied locally for a threat against a city council member, it can make it impossible to do their jobs. Because rather than deliberating the issues on the merits and listening to the information presented by constituents or staff, they're making decisions under the guise of fear and terror being imposed upon them by others. Despite what Mr. Bryant said on the stand today, there are limits in the First Amendment. You'll see in the jury instructions, and they were just read here. The limits are that you can't threaten to kill people, not in Montana or anywhere else. Two of the statutes that apply to that situation are threats and improper influence in public and official matters, and another one's in intimidation. We'll get into the weeds briefly on those in a few minutes, but they're pretty similar in Montana law. The principles are the same. All of us deserve to go through our lives and our work, whether you're a public servant or anybody else in this community, without being afraid of your own personal safety or that of your family. What Brandon said caused fear in some city council members and not others. Fear is based both on the actual words that are spoken and whether that is an actual threat, and on the circumstances around it. You heard that the circumstances around different city council members change from person to person. It's true that some people that have spent time with Mr. Bryant, that have befriended him, who've spoken with him for hours in the community about how he views the world, how he views violence, how he views city council issues, felt differently than those that only heard him in city council and heard him on YouTube. That's true. There's also no duty of a city council member in Missoula to hear those threats on YouTube and call somebody up out of the blue and say, hey, what's up with this? They did what they were supposed to do, and they reported it to law enforcement because of what could have happened. Words matter. For instance, a victim of domestic violence can both be hit and physically injured, but they can also live in their household under fear of a spouse or a partner that says, if you leave me, I'll kill you. Never receive a bruise, but that terror and that fear that they experience can be just as wounding as the bruise of being struck. A bank teller can be terrified of a person with a pointy object in their pocket. They can think that they might get shot at their job for doing their own work. If they find out a couple days later that it turned out that person didn't actually have a gun, it doesn't diminish the fear that they experience in that moment. It's real to them because it's a threat, it's true, it's being used for a particular purpose. A lot of what you've heard today in the defense's case was an after-the-fact explanation. It was over a period of days and weeks and getting responses back from Detective Smith and talking to Bryant and learning more about him that they were feared. They weren't as afraid. Steering your jury instructions that the threat and the issue that you're asked to look at is over a more discrete and short period of time. If at the time the city council members experienced this fear and this threat, whether it was real to them, into a purpose to either influence their particular political decision or something else that they were doing in their lives. This case is not about physical violence. We know that. You've heard that in the opening statements of both parties. Brandon Bryant never hurt anybody. He did not actually kill a city councilman. He only threatened to. You saw tears on the stand from city council members that haven't been able to let this go because this is stuck with them. You heard from them how this impacted their lives, how it impacted their work on the city council, how it made them want to quit, how at least one of them isn't running for re-election, and one of the reasons is because of the stress and the fear it caused for him and his family. Mr. Bryant told you today that he understands words and how to use them to achieve an objective. Words can be powerful and persuasive, and in fact, it sounds like his words used in a different context and a different setting were very persuasive to Councilwoman Adler, and making her think about an issue in a certain way. That's the type of engagement that we encourage, that we want to see. It's protected in your First Amendment right, and how this country and our democratic process depends upon change being made. But for the other council members, it was fear and terror. Brandon can be thoughtful and well-spoken. Mr. Bryant can ask him to call him. When he wants to, he's clearly intelligent, which makes you wonder more about what he intended to do and what he knew he was doing when he made these videos and when he interacted with the council. Mr. Bryant clearly experienced terrible things in the military. Any person that serves our country, whatever capacity that may be, deserves our respect. But they also have to abide by the same rules, the same laws as anybody. One of the unique things about Mr. Bryant's experience is he told you that you start learning words and phrases and context in the military that you didn't apply elsewhere. As a drone operator, he had to do terrible things and still haunt him today. He knows how that emotional trauma can be almost more destructive than physical injury or hurt. We discussed today what those words might have meant in different contexts in the military. Whether as a drone operator, if your commanding officer is ordering you to eliminate or exterminate something, or whether that target should die, whether that has a certain meaning. Whether you know how those words will be interpreted and how they'll be applied. In fact, Brandon, unfortunately, has experienced some harassment and abuse by other people in this community. And his knowledge about them being Marines or in the military and the language they use is part of what contributed to his trauma, feeling like he was being threatened, that his own personal safety was put at risk. Mr. Bryant's military experience used to shape much of his life. And certainly it's the reason that he talks about killing people and being first and forced to murder for his country. Those are tragic, traumatic things that he had to go through and that he still faces. But to stand in front of people and talk about your history of killing people, to talk about weapons and death and all bodies being left on the battlefield, is part of a context that goes around shaping people's impressions of what's being said to them. You heard Mr. Bryant explain what that story from November 18th truly meant. If I can hear my computer started, we're going to watch it again. What Bryant told you is that that's a biblical story. It's a story about injustice. It's a story about a rich man that has everything taken from somebody who doesn't. The stories like injustice of injustice can be truly powerful. They're messages that Mr. Bryant cares about, and the city council members told you they care as well. But that story that he chose to tell, that story where he screamed at the mayor and the city council,
Yes, sir.
My name is Staff Sergeant Brandon Bryant, and I will be speaking until I'm done. I was thinking a lot about addressing the members of the council, but I also realized that the members of the council I do not need to address because the majority of you have betrayed our country and our community, and I want you to know this, and I want you to see it in my eye, what I think about each and every one of you. My grandfather was a great man. He was a minister in this community, and no one that I know has picked up his mantle, and so I'm going to do what I believe that he would be doing right now, and I'm going to tell you a story. There was once a rich man who had 99 sheep, and a poor man who had one. And the rich man was going to have a guest come over to his house, and he went out to his sheep, and he saw all of his sheep. But the poor man's one sheep was better than his, so he went and took the poor man's sheep and served it to his guest and left the poor man with nothing. Do you understand that story? You are that rich man!
You're not going to yell in this chamber, sir, or you're not going to be able to participate in the meeting.
You need to understand, mister,
Sir,
Point of
what
order.
you have done.
you need to
You have sold out this community.
I'll adjourn the meeting and
That's fine,
Okay.
because you have wrecked
we will adjourn the meeting.
the
Ladies and
trust in this community.
gentlemen, we're off until we can calm down.
was a story where the consequence of that injustice would be death. The listener in that story ordered the person that stole to be executed because that's what they deserved. And then they received forgiveness, but instead, his child was killed. Mr. Bryant's well-read, he's intelligent, he knows what he's talking about, and he knows when he wants to convey a message like that. Injustice deserves death. Mr. Bryant continued to engage with City Council, and you saw some of his comments. He's passionate, but it doesn't always make sense. But after screaming to City Council, he returned about 6 weeks later, maybe 7 weeks later, with this. He didn't threaten to kill anybody. He didn't say, I'm going to use this stick to beat somebody. He used more cryptic language. He talked about it being a weapon. He talked about his vow that he wasn't going to kill somebody again, almost in the past tense, making the city council members wonder what he was saying. What did it mean that he was killing his stick? How does this fit into the context of the meeting with Bill and Yellow? How does this fit into the context of the things that he's been saying, the rage and the anger that he's displayed? So exhibit number 1 was presented to you earlier today.
Thanks, Staff Sergeant Bryant. I'll be speaking until I'm done. I was thinking a lot about addressing the members of the council, but I also realized that the members of the council I do not need to address because the majority of you have betrayed our country and our community, and I want you to know this, and I want you to see it in my eye, what I think about each and every one. My grandfather was a great man.
who is a minister in this community, and no one that I know has picked up his mantle, and so I'm going to do what I believe that he would be doing right now, and I'm going to tell you the story. There was once a rich man who had 99 sheep, and a poor man who had one. And the rich man was going to have a guest come over to his house, and he went out to his sheep, and he saw all of his sheep. But the poor man's one sheep was better than his, so he went and took the poor man's sheep and served it to his guest, and left the poor man with nothing. Do you understand that story? You are that rich man!
You're not going to yell in this chamber, sir, or you're not going to be able to participate in the
You need to understand, Mr.
Sir,
What you have done, you have sold out this community.
I'll adjourn the meeting and we'll.
That's fine, because you have rats
We will adjourn the meeting.
the trust in this community.
We're off until we can calm down.
And then for him to return on January 8th. One of the issues that was being discussed that day was the chairmanship or chairpersonship of a committee that dealt with this issue to Tim. This issue is so important to Bryant. This is the day he decides to give this statement to the number 2.
That item is not on our agenda.
I don't know. Test this. Test this, test this. Okay. My name is Staff Sergeant Bryant, and I'm from Ward 2, and I know I've been up here before, and this is not really pertaining to anything with the council other than what is happening in the world right now is dreadfully serious, and us talking about tax increment financing and everything while this stuff is going on makes me really feel that we're missing the point in what we're supposed to do about it with our community. We're supposed to be helping our community. We're supposed to be protecting our community. That's why we go to wars to keep our community safe. And right now, I do not feel safe with what's happening with the development of our community. And I really feel like you guys need to take whatever is happening in this community super duper seriously. Like, I'm begging you, I'm constantly begging you, we need to make wise and right decisions, because this reflects on the greater aspect of what's happening in our country, I feel. And I don't feel safe about dealing with what else is going on in the world with my community falling apart as it is. I have this thing with me. I was going to tell you a story about it, but I really just wanted to tell you, I swore an oath not to kill another human being. And I carry this around sometimes because it's just a stick. But it was carved in a tool that was specifically created to end another human being's life, and that was all it was created to be. And I've been told by certain members of this committee who have displayed, honestly, more integrity and more honor than any of my military leadership that I ever interacted with, that this TIF tool is an imperfect tool, but it's one we got. You cannot use an imperfect tool to do a correct job. And just like if a sword is made incorrectly, it doesn't protect the people that use it and need to use it for terrible means. This tool that you have at your fingertips, if you do not use it correctly, it will end people's lives in ways that are worse than death.
And Mr. Bryant has no comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Bryant told the city council he didn't feel safe, and today he told you that he would do anything to protect himself if he felt threatened. He told you that if he experiences injustice or if the city council did something that truly did wreck lives through the use of development tools and public financing like TIP, he would do anything to make sure that didn't happen. Mr. Bryant continued on some themes that we previously talked about. The reasons we go to war, weapons, the injustice, him being afraid, and what duty means. Katana has a certain purpose, that Japanese sword. It has a duty to be fulfilled. These videos caused concern in city council, but they didn't call 911. They didn't report to the police. They understand that they take some flack in city council. That's probably why they got on. That's why the constituents talk to them. They have concerns in the community and they do express them in a variety of different ways. They weren't concerned though. It was on their minds, and a few weeks later when they had a safety training or protected Ethan said, Mr. Bryant just wanted topics of discussion. They were worried about his behavior. It was odd. It was uncommon. It was unusual. His actions and his words weren't something that they had seen. There was a message being conveyed that they weren't sure how to interpret. Councilwoman Julie Merrick wanted to understand more, and she Googled it. Just went on YouTube. She found a video. She found this shortened video. We're going to talk about that for a minute because the shortened video is what caused some of this confusion. Councilman Jesse Ramos told his doctor that it was found on the dark web. It's found on YouTube. He said it was altered in the way that it took away its context. You guys are the only judges of that. The jury are the only people that get to watch those videos and see if there's some context that was making a few of the council members who were receiving was completely unreasonable. There's no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that the language is confusing. It's cryptic. There's a lot of anger in there. It's not all towards the city council. There's also some anger towards the military, maybe his act. But what Mr. Bryant told you today is that those that committed justice, like the military and city council, they're all the same. They're the government. They're the man. They're the people that he's angry at. When he's using those words, talking about injustice and being afraid and people's lives being ruined, it doesn't matter what level you're talking about, whether it's the military or the federal government or the Missoula City Council. So we're going to watch the full video again because we want to listen and make sure that we understand all the context. And after that, we're going to watch the abbreviated video again and assess whether there was something taken out of that so misconstrued the meaning. And when the city council members first saw this, that they completely misapprehended what was going on.
Well, so you know that it's me. Test, test. Um, 3 days from now is the solstice. Been a long time coming. There are many things in my life that I was previously ignorant to that I am now fully aware of. When I was younger and I would ask my grandfather some questions, he'd always turn to me, a very serious face. And he would say, well, what does your heart say? What does your heart say? And in my youth, I got the instruction of heaven. And in my adult life, heaven was bombarded and raided and left broken. I don't think I could have given the world anything more pure than myself. Everything was always about put your whole being into it, put your whole self into it. Sports, everything. And I seem to come across in my life more people who want to bring down instead of nurture. And I'm witness now of those same disgusting, putrid sacks of shit people coming in and buying up my backyard and commercializing life to humans. It's gross. It's absolutely one of the most disgusting things I've ever experienced in my life. The entire Missoula City Council has sold out Missoula to the highest bidder. And what's going to happen if the people who wronged everyone don't step aside and put their tails between their legs and run? Because over the next year, all those people who have wronged others, who have discriminated against others because of class or race or gender or creed or any of that, and forgot to see human beings in themselves, will be eliminated. And I always wonder if they even knew what the heck they were creating when they created men like me and people like me. The Japanese samurai attribute the life of a man to the creation of a katana. And should that sword not do its duty, then it is discarded and forged anew. And the essence of my spirit and my soul was pure and given over and over. Purely raised up and brought in a wonderful home. I could have been the highest of all beings had they encouraged it, but I only wanted to just be a teacher and a family man, and to live in harmony with God's grace, not destroy it, not consume it, not belittle it. Even this whole marijuana prohibition, the only reason that any of this stuff's illegal is because they can't make a profit off of it. That's parasitical, that's gross. And every single person needs to look within themselves and stand up against it. And I'm sick and tired of people like, that's just the way that the world works. Fuck that shit. That's stupid. The way that the world works is in harmony, is in balance. The way that the world works is that you give and you take, not you just take. It's like with Melissa. Mashiara, my lost love. I gave her everything, pure spirit, devotion. And she fucking dragged my soul across the coals. After I had been fucking humiliated by my military service. I am humiliated that I gave my life and my dedication to a group, an entity of disgusting, filthy, pedophile murderers. It's all you are. And whether in this life or the next, I will dedicate myself to hunting you out and exterminating you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where I see you. Doesn't matter at all. I will be eliminating this wretched fucking filth from the human soul. I am sick and tired of every day I wake up, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to have food. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the house over my head. I'm not sure after I murdered for these people who are making trillions and trillions of dollars off of this. They violated my fucking soul and the human spirit. And then they come and they spit on us and they degrade us and they gentrify the places where they steal us from, they uproot us from. They mold us and shape us and send you back, and then you're no longer yourself. And I know that many veterans feel that, but they don't understand it. They don't understand that they gave themselves openly, willingly, to fight for what was right and good and just, and the people that they did that for sacrificed them for material gain. And what they don't understand, the people who did this, is that there's something that underlies all of reality. And it upholds the essence of all things. It is the thing that is within me that got me through my whistleblowing. It was the thing that got me through the military. It was the thing that is before you today. And I don't think it's a thing. Some might attribute it to God. I think that's ignorant. It's themselves. And what myself is saying is that all you deserve to be eliminated, and I will do it. And if you remove me from this life, I get to choose my next incarnation, and I will hunt you down so that not even the stones will hide you. The very atoms will sing out your presence to me, and I will eliminate you from the fabric of reality, and you will never see another life again. That is my promise. If you had been true to me, you will escape the fire. But every single one of you who have wronged another human being and have made them more miserable I wish you to feel everything that you have ever made another person have to suffer through. I don't wish death upon anyone. Death will come to everyone. I wish you a very long life, and I wish you to experience it in all its excruciatingly finite detail, because it will be the very last one that you will ever get in this universe or the next. This is what I'm preparing my soul to do on this solstice. You have taken everything from me. You have taken my son from me. You have taken my dignity. You have wrecked my community. You have wrecked my family. And I will stand as myself before all of creation, and you will move. And you will submit. And you will die.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I understood Mr. Bryant's testimony correctly, he said this was an internal dialogue about parts of himself that he was talking about. But what he really talks about in this video is gentrification in Missoula, the military, people that are plucking him from his home, people that are ruining this community, people that are discriminating against other people that he finds are important. Those aren't internal conversations. Those aren't talking about yourself. You keep saying you and alleging acts against other people that are clearly not Mr. Bryant. Those words and those threats are directed towards somebody else. To the degree that he's vague in certain parts, he's certainly not vague about eliminating those in this community that have done wrong. He says it several times, the word eliminate, exterminate, submit, and die. Those words don't have a lot of ambiguity. You watch Mr. Bryant pause when he's making this video. Carefully consider his words. These aren't slips of the tongue, running your mouth, or saying something that you didn't need to come out. These are pauses in your diatribe to make sure that the words are clear and intentional and understood. You heard testimony that the shorter video is some doctor's version from the dark web. YouTube isn't the dark web. I don't think anybody thinks that. And we're going to watch the short video as well, because it's important for you to once again compare and understand whether what the City Council heard and experienced when it first became afraid of Mr. Bryant was reasonable enough. This video is observed 3,000 plays.
And I seem to come across in my life more people who want to bring down instead of nurture. And I'm witness to now of those same disgusting, putrid sacks of shit people coming in and buying up my backyard and commercializing life to humans. It's gross. It's absolutely one of the most disgusting things I've ever experienced in my life. The entire Missoula City Council has sold out Missoula to the highest bidder. And what's going to happen if the people who wronged everyone don't step aside and put their tails between their legs and run? Because over the next year, all those people who have wronged others, who have discriminated against others because of class or race or gender or creed or any of that, and forgot to see human beings in themselves, will be eliminated. And I always wonder if they even knew what the heck they were creating when they created men like me and people like me. But I only wanted to just be a teacher and a family man. It's like with Melissa. Mashiara, my lost love. I gave her everything, pure spirit, devotion. And she fucking dragged my soul across the coals. After I had been fucking humiliated by my military service. I am humiliated that I gave my life and my dedication to a group, an entity of disgusting, filthy, pedophile murderers. It's all you are. And whether in this life or the next, I will dedicate myself to hunting you out and exterminating you. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where I see you. Doesn't matter at all. I will be eliminating this wretched fucking filth from the human soul. I am sick and tired of every day I wake up, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to have food. I'm not sure if I'm going to have the house over my head. And what myself is saying is that all you deserve to be eliminated, and I will do it. And if you remove me from this life, I get to choose my next incarnation, and I will hunt you down so not even the stones will hide you. The very atoms will sing out your presence to me, and I will eliminate you from the fabric of reality, and you will never see another life again. That is my promise. This is what I'm preparing my soul to do on this solstice. And I will stand as myself before all of creation, and you will move, and you will submit, and you will die.
Folks, this video isn't dubbed over someone else's voice. It isn't broken up so much that you can't understand the sentence or what the heck he's trying to say. It
Your Honor,
doesn't
I'm just
read
gonna pause for a second. The state is still displaying this, and it has a phrase on it that I don't think has been admitted into evidence. So I would ask the state to put its video down while that phrase is present.
Yeah, I'll just take it down the way.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you.
This isn't a doctor, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone's seen a clip on the news where a portion of relevant statements ends up being played with a whole interview. You have both. You have the whole interview and you have the clip of the city council first. The defense witnesses had a different opinion. So John Contos and Sandra Secca were friendly, not friends, with Mr. Bryant, and that's fine. They worked together on the campaign, and they sought out these issues, and they both learned a little bit about Mr. Bryant. They had a completely different perception of these videos. They weren't afraid, that's okay. That's okay. Jesse Ramos, similar thing. He wasn't very concerned. He wasn't one of the people that Brandon Bryant thought had betrayed the community. He's been standing up for the things that Mr. Bryant cared about. He's been fighting that battle on city council. He wasn't the betrayer. Mayor Egan wasn't at the meeting with the stick, and he never even saw the videos. He told you he has really thick skin. He in local government for that long, and when he got screamed at, he maybe didn't like it, but shrugged it off and moved on. That's fine too. Heather Hart told you a lot about the work that she did to reach out to Mr. Bryant, which is very human. And she formed a relationship with him. She told you she wasn't afraid. But she told you that when there was an alleged report was shooting in downtown Missoula, near City Hall. First thing that came to mind was it was Brandon Bryant. That's what the state witnesses told you. They told you that they've been sitting through these city council meetings and they haven't followed up on it. They realized they have to take some time. But the video pushed it over the edge. The video was something else. It was unheard of and unusual in their experience in city council. Constituent who's been regularly appearing in city council and acting in a bizarre, angry, aggressive, and erratic manner say he was going to eliminate him. Talk about how they were destroying the community. Not only did I oppose what you're doing in the community, but you're destroying it. Mr. Bryant told you how he views the government's role in the destruction of things that he cares about. That if it's the military or the federal government or the local government, if they take actions that hurt the people he cares about or him, if they destroy this community, he'll do anything he needs to. It's not the first time that Brandon Bryant has threatened to kill someone. He told you that he would do it in defense. Like if he feels afraid, or if he feels threatened. Like if his humanity isn't changing in the way that he thinks it can't come back from. When you go into your deliberations, you're left with evidence you've heard. The testimony from the witnesses, the exhibits that were admitted, and the videos that you've watched. Your life experiences too about what it means to be threatened, what it means to be afraid. And you know that a threat doesn't have to be carried out to be real. That bank teller that sees a robber demanding money in an aggressive way with a finger in his pocket, it's still really scary. Just because she learns later that it wasn't a real gun, or he didn't have anything, or she's okay, doesn't mean she forgets about it. She remembers that every day she goes to work. She remembers that every time somebody like him, or looks like him, or maybe him specifically, walks back up to her counter at the bank, and her pulse quickens, and she can't take her breath. And the adrenaline that goes through your body alters your perception of time, how you think. Because terror and being afraid, the emotional impact of it, can be more devastating than a bruise. I'd like to go over some of these jury instructions with you. I'd like to highlight just a few. Not all. The first is instruction 19, and I realize it may be hard to see in the back. Instruction 19 says to convict the defendant of the charge of threats or improper and other improper influence in official and political matters. State must prove the following evidence: that the defendant threatened harm to city council members, eliminate, exterminate, submit, and die in the context of his other attendance at the city council meetings was a threat in the Missoula City Council. But the defendant did so with a purpose to influence the decision of the Missoula City Council members for public service. Bryant said in his testimony, "I did it on purpose." That's what he told the detectives say. His language is clear, it's on purpose. You put it on YouTube on purpose. You put it on YouTube knowing that this other person, if not other people, would repost it because he reposts a lot of his videos. He told you he wanted the city council to feel the same fear that others would feel. And that he's particularly concerned about things like TIF and the Riverfront Triangle Project. He puts these videos out there to be bait for other people, like this guy right here said. That's purpose, to influence the city council members. He told me in our cross-examination that what he was doing was watching city council. And if they took those extra steps, whether it was on TIF or something else, that caused gentrification or some sort of development in the community that he didn't like, that those were the things he was watching. If the city council went too far, there's nothing that he wouldn't do. And the defendant acted purposely or knowingly. I'm going to jump ahead really quick because these are what we call the mental state in criminal law in Montana. First, your instruction number 15 is for knowing. And this is important because you need to know exactly what Bryant Bryant is thinking and why he did what he did. You hear words like intent, you see it in TV shows, but that's not actually what the law says. It's purposely or known. And a person acts knowingly when the person is aware that there exists a high probability that the person's conduct will cause a specific result. Like when you attend city council meetings and act aggressive, use cryptic language about war and killing people and weapons, and then when you make a video talking about the same things, again talking about killing people, talking about eliminating people, talking about exterminating people, and submitting and dying. Brandon Bryant knew that when he used that type of language in light of his conduct, that there was a high probability that city council members would be afraid of a specific result. Is being afraid, scared, terrorized. Purposely is defined in instruction number 16. And a person acts purposely when it's a person's conscious object to cause such a result. Like using specific language that's thought through carefully when you're making it, recording yourself on a video, putting it on YouTube, knowing that other people may take your video and repost it, and telling Detective Smith that I did it on purpose, that I did it to incite a response. That's purposely. I did it on purpose. Mr. Bryant said that, Detective Smith. He said the reason for the video was to incite a response, to get a response from somebody because nobody was listening to. Ladies and gentlemen, for those reasons, Brandon Bryant is guilty of threats and improper influence on official and political matters in Montana. You have a unique situation before you make verdict form. You have charges which are in the alternative, meaning you need to choose one or the other, but not one. And it's charged that way because they're very similar, and they have similar elements. One is specific towards public servants, like city council members. The other one can be the other one, intimidation, can be more general. It can apply to anybody. And it focuses more on that fear, more on what the person perceived, which is a subjective element, whether individuals told you that they were actually afraid. And then the second step is whether that was reasonable. So we've established that the state's met its burden to meet these elements of threatening to harm, doing so with purpose to influence city council members, and then overall he's acting purposely. The issues in intimidation are 32. They're a little bit difficult to see, but there's no team taking this as instruction number 21. It says to convict the defendant of the charge of intimidation, the state must prove the following elements. The first of which is that the defendant communicated the threat to inflict physical harm on city council members. You won't see in that instruction how it has to be communicated. There is no requirement under the law or the statute, despite what's been discussed over the last few days, that Brandon Bryant has to send it directly to somebody in an email or, hey, everybody, here's a letter that this link to YouTube. It doesn't require that. Read the instructions. He just has to communicate it. The second element is that the defendant was without legal authority to perform the threatening acts. And so, there are situations of self-defense. That's true. I mean, if somebody's attacking you and you say, if you do that, I will defend myself. Such and such. That could be a legal authority to act out. But making a video threats is not. There's no legal authority to do so. Number three, the circumstances reasonably tended to produce a fear that the threat would be carried out. Reasonably tended to produce a fear. And in light of the circumstances. You know those now, the city council meetings, the video itself. And you heard specifically the fear that at least 3 city council members felt. Well, Heather Hart said she didn't feel fear. She heard there was a shooting downtown. She thought it was Brandon Bryant. Number 4, that the defendant had the purpose to cause the alleged victim to perform or omit the performance of the act. I did it to incite a response, Bryant Bryant said. He was mad about the Riverfront Triangle project, gentrification, and tax increment financing. He wanted to bring the TIF issue to light. He puts his videos out there on YouTube, no one knows over at. That's purpose, to cause the city council to act differently than they were. Now, it's important to look at that closely because a citizen or a constituent can have a purpose to have the government act differently. They can go to the meetings, they can plead a case, they can be angry, they can be passionate, they can give comments on anything that they want, that's fine. But they can't threaten violence. Because everybody, whether you're a bank teller or a grocery store clerk, a city council member, deserves to go to work without fear of being killed or hurt. It's not that city council members or government officials should have some sort of greater protection than anybody else. It shouldn't. It should be similar. But there is an element of importance in protecting the democratic process. This experiment that we have, democracy, is still relatively young in the face of human time. We're 250 years into it. It changes all the time, but it depends on a few things. It depends on people performing civic duties in a lot of different ways. It depends on people being willing to run for office and deal with difficult issues, sometimes take criticism that isn't easy to take, but know that that's what people will have a right to do. But they need people to engage in that with some sort of feeling that they can do so safely. If they can't, people don't run for office. They quit city council. They drop off. They drop out of democracy. They don't participate. And the experiment ends. It's the reason that we have a specific statute with public servants and the threats to them. It's the reason it's there. So they know this process, which is messy, imperfect, hard, full of disagreements, different viewpoints, and sometimes mistakes, can at least be done in a civil manner without fear. Bryant caused incredible fear and terror in multiple city council members because of his words and his actions. Despite what he said, words do matter. They can be incredibly hurtful. As a testimony you heard a year and a half after it happened, the tears that you saw me stand about the impact this had on some of the city council members. I've met my burden, the state has met its burden, to provide evidence beyond a reasonable doubt as to every element of the two offenses charged. It's up to you to decide, as you apply those facts to the law, which offense is best for this circumstance. But I ask you, in light of the last 3 days, the testimony you've heard, the evidence you've seen, do you find Bryant guilty? Thank you.
Joseph Lovato, my first sergeant. I've never met a more vile human being that I would just have no issue of eliminating from the thread of humanity. They're trying to create a situation where someone is probably desperate enough that they believe themselves to be the Messiah and do something really fucked up. And we see those types of people that are, we'll take the Unabomber, for example. Same way, imagine someone who does something like that, and instead of knowing that they're human and what the spirit is, They believe themselves to be God and go around and killing people. My son's mother, and the woman did the worst thing possible to me as anyone else in the world. And according to any of those ancient traditions, any ancient tradition, the woman would be fucking hung. But if I look at the things that are written on my heart, things that I tried to murder in myself over these last few years, love dictates that she go free. It played out in my mind many, many, many times. Death. But when I came to my heart, it can never be so. But those people that have stolen from me, who have hurt others purposely and stolen from them, I have no issue with that. And either they step aside, or every step I take towards my son is going to be on another person's skull. Like, these people, every time there's a fucking shooting, they argue about the Second Amendment, which is, in my opinion, it's no argument. You can't take someone's right to defend themselves away. It's done. You want to take someone's right to defend themselves away, even if they're fucking crazy? Done. Can't do it. And I'm not backing down on the fact that I believe that Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Henry Kissinger, and all those motherfuckers, Trump, they all should be brought out to the Lincoln Memorial, where a gallows has been set up and systematically hung in front of the public until they die, until the life leaves their body. And the notification that I got this notification 3 days ago. The notification, and they say, no, this is punishing me for my whistleblowing, because they're not gonna jail me because I would fight back with my fists, and I would be completely unruly. And but the Montana government says that I owe that money back because a year ago I almost set on a path of hate, destruction, frenzy. And that's why I just don't give a fuck anymore. I don't give a fuck what happens to this world. I don't give a fuck what happens to the person next door. Except for just, you know what? Destroy every politician. You know, every politician, if we lived in a truly just society, all these politicians that are taking money by lobbyists and not doing the will of the people, they would be taken out into the street and executed one by one and then replaced. Because people think that I'm mentally unstable or crazy when I talk about this, but these people are evil. These people are wicked and unrighteous. They deserve death. They deserve it. Maybe we need a little more pain and suffering in our lives, in our world, before someone actually steps up to the fucking plate and does something about it. I mean, and death shouldn't be off of the table at this point. And they're destroying our world and our planet. We're having this climate change shit that's going on. Like, it's negative 20 degrees outside my house right now. These people just need to be wiped off the face of the fucking planet. Donald Trump needs to be eradicated. Hillary Clinton needs to be eradicated. All those people that pretended to be my friends are now my enemies. The people who created the drone film with me, they're my enemy. Norway's my enemy. The United States is my enemy. Humanity is just garbage. The United States is filth. Europe is fucking trash. Pain and misery can be caused by others because these others aren't being dealt with. They're like human viruses that are being allowed to walk around and infect others with their misery and everyone that I've gone to help for they're like, oh, you're just going to have to let go and you're just going to have to wait for him to get older and he'll realize the truth. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you people who I relied on and who I went to for help, and you did this to me. No one would help me. It's interesting that like Jesselyn Raddick and all of them, none of them would help me unless it benefited them. My ex, who is keeping my son from me, that no matter what she does, that I would always love her, always forgive her. And it didn't matter if she was on her knees in front of me and I had permission from God himself to swing a sword and kill her and decapitate her, that in my heart, I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't even want the heat of my breath to touch the skin, the moisture on her, the sweat on her skin. And I know that Rainierson's problem is his fucking massive ego, but he's still evil. He's still an evil piece of shit. And because pretty much the entire world is my enemy. Our entire society is my enemy. Our politicians and those people that are evil are my enemy. And if I have to continue fighting alone, then I guess that's what I will do. And this time I'm not tormented. I'm not being chased by my demons, or my ghosts, or my thoughts, or my emotions. And I guess that's where the real fun begins. Yeah. If you don't hear from me, good luck. And if you're my enemy, go fuck yourself. If I don't kill you in this life, I'll kill you in the next. As far as I'm concerned as well, I feel like at this point I'm ready to just die. You know, I am. And I'd rather be fucking killed by the police and let them show just how fucking terrible and horrible shit has gotten and end my fucking misery than continue living feeling like my life is being leached from me by some sort of parasite. So yeah, I would rather die than live in this fucking shithole of a planet, shithole of a world.
It was April 20th, 1999. Later that morning at Columbine High School, my son Dylan and his friend Eric killed 12 students and a teacher. I must ask for understanding and even compassion when I talk about my son's death as a suicide. 2 years before he died, he wrote on a piece of paper in a notebook that he was cutting himself. He said that he was in agony and wanted to get a gun so he could end his life. I didn't know about any of this until months after his death. When I talk about his death as a suicide, I'm not trying to downplay the viciousness he showed at the end of his life. I'm trying to understand how his suicidal thinking led to murder. After a lot of reading and talking with experts, I've come to believe that his involvement in the shootings was rooted not in his desire to kill, but in his desire to die.